My economic section of reporting tends to be quite popular now. Understandably, the climate crisis is completely out of our hands, and any measures to enact regulatory means by limiting emissions is just a farce and BS. Honestly, the fact that the World Economic Forum is talking about using methane as a source of energy is just beyond logic. So that makes sense actually, because it's about profits. Yeah. All right. So as I'm doing this, I'm aware that many of my subscribers are just doing the best that they can. I think about all the people around the world working at fast food joints till the wee hours of the morning. It's just pure lunacy. The world has gone insane. And I'm aware, I'm not like narcissistically driven to do this sort of reporting, for some ego trip. I genuinely want to report what's going on in the world. I want to stay tethered to what's happening because otherwise, what's the point? If you're not a part of the whole, then you're just, you're an atomized person and you don't really matter. And that's true. Actually, it is true. You don't have an impact. Any concern you have with the way things are run is immediately shot down. The FBI will charge in your door if they have a clue that you plan on doing things a little differently. Will global economic growth end? This wise guy comes out and says that the global economy has gotten too big, and according to the law of thermodynamics and exponential growth, that kind of growth isn't sustainable in the long run. Wow, shocker. How did this guy get a degree? The question is, where are we going to have a hard or a soft landing? He wrote the talk is called Energy and Growth in the Age of Humans, Finding Our Way to a Sustainable, Just, and Vibrant World. And so he's just going on to say, hey, we need to stop growing the economy with coal, but rather with clean energy, more of this hopium BS. This is why, I really don't care, again, about credentials. Back to Texas, where I'm from, the Lone Star State. Don't mess with Texas. Texas Ag Agency says climate change threatens state's food supply. Texas Department of Agriculture report other factors. Basically, it was one of the driest years on record. About 49% of the state is still in drought conditions at the end of December, resulting in failed crops, low yields, and farmers diminishing grazing. And it led to selling off of the highest amount of livestock sold, 2.7 million. From the agricultural perspective, concerns were expressed regarding droughts, drying up of wells, etc. We're seeing longer periods without any precipitation. When it does come, it's in shorter, more intense bursts. And they did receive a bunch of rain, but it came at the end of summer, and all of that is pretty much used up and gone. Are you ready for summer, guys? Are you ready? Oh, Europe's already experiencing that. Back to the oceans, climate change could cause a disaster in world's oceans, says scientists. How many more warnings do we got to get? Climate change heating of seawater, enough so that people will actually start to question their life decisions. Climate change, that's too much. That's too much for people. Heating of seawater is causing a slowdown of deep circulation patterns in the Atlantic and Southern Oceans, according to Earth System scientists at the University of California, Irvine, and Paul Beckwith. And if this process continues, the ocean's ability to remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere will be severely limited, further exacerbating global warming. Surprise! In a recent study published in Nature Climate Change, they analyzed projections from 36 climate models and found that the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation and the southern meridional overturning circulation will slow by as much as 42% by 2100. The simulations suggest that worst-case warming, the smog, could cease entirely by 2300. Analysis from projections of 36 Earth systems modeled over a range of climate scenarios showed that unchecked global warming could lead to a shutdown of the ocean deep circulation. What would this mean? It would mean the basic physical and chemical interaction of seawater and air, what Moore and his colleagues call the solubility pump, draws CO into the ocean. While the ocean circulation sends some carbon back to the sky, the net amount sequestered in the ocean's depths. Additionally, a biological pump occurs as phytoplankton use CO2 during photosynthesis and forming carbonate shells. When the plankton and larger animals die, they sink, slowly decomposing and releasing carbon and nutrients at depth. Some come back up, circulating upwelling, but a portion remains banked beneath the waves. A disruption in circulation will reduce ocean uptake of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, intensifying and extending the hot climate conditions. So the biological pump responsible for regulating CO2 would be officially dismantled, should that shut down. Thankfully, though, the World Economic Forum says we need AI. Otherwise, we won't meet our ESG goals and address climate change. Need them computers, but Elon said it's a threat. Did we mention summer in Europe? Yeah, Scotland was 2022 was Scotland was the hottest year, was 8.5 degrees Celsius, beating the previous record of 8.43 in 2014. Across the UK, the average annual temperature last year passed 10°C for the first time at 10.03°C. This is why I get comments on my channel from boomers, particularly, saying, "But the weather's always been fine the past 50 years. It's always been hot." Yeah, we're all the bugs. We're all the birds. I didn't say that humans can't survive in extreme conditions like the Arctic tundra and deserts and tropical humid atmospheres. What I am saying is all the animals and bugs that we depend on to grow agriculture, to sustain our way of life. Again, I take that off of many biologists. That statement. Is this a surprise? No, brainwashing. Also, college textbooks aren't keeping pace with climate change science. Well, there's a pickle. Despite accelerating research and dire warnings, the study published in All Access Journal PLOS1 in late December found that fewer than 3 pages in a typical 1,000-page biology textbook from recent decades address climate change. The placement and amount of coverage makes it look like an inconsequential thing unrelated to biology and life on Earth when it's a huge factor, says Dr. Jennifer Landon. Just let the video play. Just let the video play, guys. Don't click off. One of the study's authors and associate professor of biology at North Carolina State University basically found that the climate science hasn't kept pace with broader advances in scientific understandings about the causes and impacts of potential solutions. So, in the 90s, there was approximately one textbook sentence for every 200 scientific publications about climate change. In 2010s, the ratio was one textbook sentence for every 1,100 scientific publications. I mean, there you go, guys. You don't teach people about an existential threat, reality. But luckily, Brazil is going to play the role as they're burning the Amazon rainforest and chopping it down for agriculture, which is tremendously devastating. They're going to hire a new climate change policy minister, this lady, Marina Silva. Does she look like a boomer? Yep, fire her. Moving on. This is the real meat and potatoes. People tend to like my economic update, again, understandably, because the climate is just like floods here, record temperatures there, just extreme, weather whiplashing extremes. It felt virtually everywhere in the world. Sorry, I'm grimacing because of just how much denial is still present. I know my voice, I can't change anything, but it never ceases to amaze me. Let's round up today's economic news. Let me restart. Today's economic roundup. The world economy faces a huge stress test in 2023 with inflation on the rise and the era of ultra-low interest rates over. There could be a systemic crisis. Quote, this is from The Guardian. The fact that the world did not experience a systemic financial crisis in 2022 is a minor miracle given the inflation and rising interest rates. Record level of public and private debt. Surpassing the public and private debt has risen to record levels during a bygone era of low interest rates and recession risk high. Global financial system faces a huge stress test, especially in Japan or Italy. Global regulators to step up scrutiny of risks outside the banking system. Oil falls again as concerns grow over global economy. China COVID cases, which are rising. But what about the people who are doing the testing, huh? They're out of a job. We need jobs for the economy. Demand slump sees 2 million ghost ships sailing out of Asia. What? Can we get a quadruple what? December S&P Global U.S. manufacturing deteriorating faster. Came in at 46.2, down 1.5 from the final November figure. A reading above 50 indicates expansion. A reading below 50 indicates contraction. Surprise. Fed wants more evidence of easing inflation and back fresh rates rising.
Okay.
Mortgage demand plunges 13.2% to end 2022 as interest rates head higher again. Pharmacists in the UK and US report shortage of cold and flu medicines because people worried about strep, RSV, and COVID. Meanwhile, UK, I feel for you, Brits. Record 13.3% UK food inflation for another difficult year, the highest since the early 80s. And no more baguettes. That's really like all they eat in France. Je suis baguette. France's iconic baguette has been under increasing threat as bakers struggle with sharp hikes in prices of butter, flour, and sugar. With astronomical electricity bills looming this year, some have been warning their ovens will remain unlit. Just let the video play, guys. Bordeaux wine growers demand money to uproot vines. What? Okay, Yellow Vest is back at it again. France's nuclear sector, which it prizes itself on having, by November, a record 26 of France's 56 nuclear reactors were shut for repairs. So, oh man, the state-controlled energy company running the power stations, and they need to finalize, how they're going to work it so they stop going bankrupt. Meanwhile, debt defaults seen surging in the echo of COVID turmoil. That's a mouthful. I do also want to repeat that many businesses are just going to be dropping like flies this year. Small businesses, all the way from France to Australia and the whole world. Rising interest rates threaten to test Eurozone to destruction. I mean, yeah, they're going to be in a full-blown war with themselves and Russia. Japan's nuclear restart hit by engineer manufacturing capacity shortages. Because of Fukushima disaster, they don't have as many engineers and capacity shortages because they're stunned, bewildered, overwhelmed, blah, blah, dazzled, blah, blah. Just stop, okay? We get it. Beijing warns of need to minimize China's debt risk as it shores up economy. Chinese debt builders defaults on bonds. Peru is chaos. Bolivia is chaos. Pakistan, India. Pakistan to shut down markets and restaurants early to save power. Egyptians under the weight of high prices, rationing, and scarcity of the dollar. World's largest man-made dam has less than 1% of usable water. What? That's kind of the common trend everywhere. Yeah, this has been your January 5th climate and economy / world news update. My name is Reagan, the Doom Wizard, coming at you for 2023. And I don't really have much to rant about other than, taking care of my health and your health for that matter. And just trying to be a mature, helpful adult. Is that so difficult to ask? Apparently. Okay, guys. Talk to you later. Peace.